Jeff Canarsie, named sharp as a blade, walking through shadows where legends are made. Rat scatter, he don't play that game. Honor on his sleeve, blood pumps through the same. Joey tried to chirp, thought he'd test the throne. Jeff shut it down, stone meeting stone. Streets got rules, ain't no time for snitches. Code so clean, no room for glitches. No raps, no breaks, no folding, no cap. Living by the code, no turning back. Italian honor is carved in his veins. Jeff stands tall while the world complains. Cement shoes waiting for loose lips to slip. Oath sworn over wine, every word legit. Family first, but respect the grind. Step out of line, he'll rearrange your spine. Merlino thought he ran the set. Jeff reminded him who the streets respect. Whispers in the alleys, they all know the tale. Jeff, don't break, don't bend, don't fail. No rats, no breaks, no folding, no cap. Living by the code, no turning back. Italian honor is carved in his veins. Jeff stands tall while the world complains. Merlino thought he ran the set. Jeff reminded him who the streets respect. Whispers in the alleys, they all know the tale. Jeff, don't break, don't bend, don't fail. Jiggy in the corner, counting out the best. Cigar lit whispers turn to threats. Gold chain dancing, watch face gleaming. A suit so sharp it'll leave you bleeding. Running numbers like the stock exchange. But step out of line, you'll feel the range. He's got Sinatra in his veins, ice in his stare. Made men salute, they don't even dare. Jiggy runs the books, he runs the game. Respect the code, remember the name. Don't mess with Chicky, that's the rule. Cross him once, you're the neighborhood fool. Poorly hums like the streets of Rome. Chicky's empire's built brick by stone. Capo on the rise, pasta on the plate. Break bread with the fam or you meet your fate. He's got cousins in Naples, brothers in Queens. But the money's clean. Swagger so mean, make a priest confess. Chicky don't gamble, he's playing chess. Backroom whispers, dice roll slow. A bottle of Chianti, the cash flow grows. Man of his word, but his word's a blade. Deals in loyalty, debts get paid. Chicky runs the books, he runs the game. Respect the code, remember the name. That's the rule. Cross him once, you're the neighborhood fool. Chicky runs the books, he runs the game. Respect the code, remember the name. You don't mess with Chicky, that's the rule. Cross him once, you're the neighborhood fool. Chicky in the Cadillac, cruising the lane. Lights reflecting off his gold chain. A stand-up guy with a sit-down grin. In Chicky's world, only family wins.
Alrighty, let's see if I can. Here we go. Here we go. I always pick the wrong goddamn thing. All right, here we go, everybody. I'm going to go through the chat just really quick. Do me a favor, press the number 1 if you can hear the words that are coming out of my mouth. Terrell, what's shaking, buddy? I'm going to go through the chat really quick. Say hello to Jesse Roth. We're going to say hello to Pat. Joy, how are you? I hope you're doing well. Stacy, how you doing? Let's see who else we got here. We got Mrs. Gotti, the one and only Angel Gotti. So this was kind of, we were meant to do this the other day, but some stuff kind of went on. I see that Mr. Penn State is in here. Let me just show you what we're dealing with here. Yeah, they never know how much snow we're going to get. They're calling from anything from 12 to 36 inches. I think it's just going to depend on where the sort of storm goes. If it pushes west, we get buried. I think we're going to get buried either way. So I'm sure many of you are, I'm sure most of you are suffering through this weather as well. Anyway, do me a favor, people. If anybody comes in here saying anything, just ban them and get rid of them. Just ban them and get rid of them. We don't need the nonsense. I see somebody was. Hold on a minute. Why was Stacy banned? Does anybody know why? That doesn't make any sense. Hold on a second, guys. I think. What is this? Yeah, whatever. This guy can get out of here. Shit. Chris, can you come on? Because I have to go over and unblock. Okay, it was saying that you were banned but removed, and I have no idea why. Chris, are you around? Can you come on? Stacy, I see you now, but I got a thing earlier that says you were banned for some reason. I don't know why. Nobody should be banning Stacy. Just ban the people that come in here to start stuff more than anything. I didn't come in here with a whole lot planned for tonight. However, just really quickly, I think. Oh, okay. Thank you, Angel. Just really quickly, I just kind of wanted to share this. Our new book is coming out in July. I'm looking forward to it. It's been really one of the easier books I think we've written. It's going to dissect everything that is sort of John Gotti. Yeah, Chris, give me 1 second. All right. All right. The link is in the chat. The book is really good. It's really about the issue between Paul Castellano and John Gotti. There's a lot of stuff that's been misreported probably for the last decade. We are the only mob genre outlet to cover Paul Castellano the way we did. In fact, I've never heard any other mob genre people talk about Paul the way we did. Just access to his files really kind of shows a different story. And so what this book is going to be about is it's going to be about the issue between John Gotti and Paul Castellano, the politics of it all. And we're sort of going to pull the veil back a little bit and get into the politics to the extent where I think that people just don't understand. And this comes from the introduction. And believe it or not, Angel Gotti tonight has Lee Cole on her show, and they're going to be talking about Marion USP. And in this introduction, you're going to find out some things about Marion USP that are just absolutely insane. I actually sent Angel Gotti a text. This is, can I use this photo? Is this photo all right? Yeah, go ahead. Why would I be mad? So that's the photo we're going to use. There's just a lot of stuff I think that's going to be in this book, which should be, I want to say, between 200 and 300 pages, and it's going to blur the lines. You're going to walk away from this book seeing a whole different side of the coin, because oftentimes what we do here, just really quickly, is that John Gotti broke all the rules. John Gotti ruined the mafia. John Gotti did this, but there's so much more to it than just sort of that tagline. Chris, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. Also, just really quickly, if you guys would donate tonight, I would really appreciate it. You can donate to Venmo, PayPal, Cash App. That would be perfect. That would be absolutely perfect. It just enables us to keep doing what we do. Now, there is something I want to bring up, and this, I'm glad you're here, Chris. I'm not holding you up, am I?
No, I'm all good, brother. You do
Okay.
what you got to do. I got the night off.
All right. So technically, obviously, you can see we're getting buried in snow. So one of the things that I typically try to stay away from as much as I can is just a back and forth with informants and people that support them and people that don't. But somebody sent me something today, and I just kind of shook my head. And Chris, I'm going to show this to you and to everybody in the chat. And I want to just kind of get people's opinions of this. I don't know if you can read that, but it's a post by Anthony Arolata, and it is a photo of Ralphie Santiago. All right. And it says, look at this pathetic crackhead junkie, Ralphie Santiago. Scott Bernstein says he's a made man and a mob boss. Let's see. It says he was Narcaned a dozen times. He beat his 85-year-old father up because he wouldn't sign the house over to him. Exclusive video coming soon on the Junkie Wannabe. Chris, what's your opinion on that? If you have one.
So I don't know a lot about this Ralph Santiano, like as far as how legit he is or not. But Bernstein putting out what he did, like just have to read, or excuse me, Aroleta, looking at this pathetic crackhead, blah, 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 blah. What are you putting the guy down for? Like, did he do something horrible that, catches your wrath? I don't know a lot about this guy. I mean, it seems to me about a stand-up guy. You could tell me if I'm wrong about this, but Anthony are a lot of chirping in. It just seems to me like the grips around Springfield are getting more and more tightened with a new leader, where maybe Anthony Arolata cannot come and go as he please, and he's not welcome at certain places. So now he's firing back as a result of that. Is that the truth? I don't know, because I don't know this guy, but I'm just speculating on past history of what was going on.
Well, it's interesting.
I'm wrong.
No. I listen, I don't know Ralphie at all. Never met the guy, whatever. I heard a lot of things. I think it's worth noting that he was Anthony Arolata's best man at his wedding. I think that's very telling. And so it always strikes me as peculiarly, I can't say that word, like Angel can't say Massachusetts. I just find it very strange that a guy, typically people that are junkies their whole entire life for the most part. Okay. Especially those that don't get help. It's a disease and all of that. But you have the guy as your best man. So he wasn't a junkie then, or was he a junkie, but you just bypassed it then? I think you're probably more onto the money here than I would be. I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that I'm trying to figure out a way of saying this without inciting a bunch of shit. But I think if you're an informant, you're the last person that has any right to speak about anybody else, especially in that area. Now, what is worth noting, and I've said this publicly, is that Arolata doesn't have a problem going wherever he wants. That's just the nature of, I think, the ebb and flow of where organized crime has sort of come to at this point. But at the same time, this is also a symptom of what we've seen every informant do. Every single one of these guys has done the same thing. They do whatever whatever it is they have to do. They put men behind the wall. They say they're choosing their blood family over the mafia. And okay, fine. I understand that. But at what point are you just serving your own ego here? You know what I mean? You're going to badmouth a guy with zero proof of it. We're supposed to just accept your word for it. Yet half a dozen guys go to prison because of your word. So I don't understand why these guys continue to do this. Like, you would think, and let's just be rational about this for 1 second. We're not talking about a captain from a New York crime family. Okay. We're a captain in the New York crime family has 10 times the power that anybody in Springfield could ever have. It's just the reality of it, right? And so I think when we start to go down this road, the first thing that sort of comes to my mind is, what's the point? What are you trying to prove? If he's in his own way trying to say this guy's a clown, this guy has no business running anything, well, who are you to say anything? You told on everybody. I just don't understand what the point is. Oh, I think we lost Chris. I think his I think his computer gave out, but he'll come back. I'll drop the link back in the chat again, Chris. What do you guys think? I mean, does this just get to the point where it's pointless? I mean, I personally think this kind of stuff is absolutely unequivocally pointless. I don't understand like the rationale for it. I don't understand the purpose behind it. And I think for anybody to make a judgment about another man, especially when you told on people, is a little bit, hypocritical to say the least. So I don't understand it. Somebody handed it to me, and I don't know. I will never understand why these guys own. You take a guy like John A. Light, for example. You take some of these other guys, and they have a really innate way of just not telling their story. They have to put themselves into every little facet of history to make themselves appear bigger. But the reality is, if you're in a position of power or any position at all, that should be your story. And I just don't understand why these guys continue to do shit like this. I also don't understand why these guys let that clown in a fucking social club after he ratted. I don't understand that either. And so for the life of me, I just think it's fucking pointless. It's fucking pointless. It serves no purpose. To my knowledge, this guy is not a junkie. This is just Arlotta having a problem with somebody and airing it out all over Facebook. That just seems to be the way it is. But I just don't understand any of this. I just don't. I think it's grown men online just insult people is silly. But with that said, I don't know why it started. No, neither do I. And in fairness, I don't either. I don't know why it started, but somebody sent it to me and wanted to get my 2 cents on it. And my 2 cents is this. If you're an informant and you told on somebody, you're the last person that has any sort of bridge to stand on when it comes to this kind of stuff. In my opinion, so I really, I don't know. I don't know. To me, it's just very, 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 very strange. It really is very, very strange to me. But it is what it is. One of the other things I kind of wanted to get into, maybe Chris will come back. Maybe he's fixing his computer, whatever the case may be. In the meantime, if you guys wouldn't mind donating, I would really, truly appreciate it. All the information is scrolling across the bottom of the screen. I have an odd question, and this is related to my book. And this is where I kind of need you guys in the chat to sort of get involved in this discussion. Because one of the things we talked about at the top of the show is this book that I'm working on between John Gotti and Paul Castellano is one of the typical things that you hear is people try to either justify or over-justify things that are done. And I'll give you an example. And this is a question for an example purpose only. And I need you guys to just vote on this really quick, just because I'm curious, because it's going to, I think, show the audience, and it's going to show, what's up, Sicilian Syndicate? How you doing, pal? It's going to show, I think, part of the issue. And this is the reason why I wanted to write the book. And there's really not a right answer or a wrong answer to this, but I'm just curious. And it's a simple yes or no answer. And I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here. Okay. And here's the first question. Participation is needed. And then I'll get to the reason why I'm asking. Number one, you're going to say yes or no to the first question. Was John Gotti justified in allegedly ordering the hit on Paul Castellano without commission approval? Yes or no? Was John Gotti justified in ordering the hit on Paul Castellano without commission approval? Yes or no? All right. Stacy says yes. She said that John was justified. What else do you guys say? Okay, we've got a second one. We've got a yes, he was justified. So we've got 3 justified. So in the chat, I want you to type why do you think that was justified? I'm just curious because I'm going to tell you why I'm asking you this in 3 seconds. Give me like a 1-sentence reason of why he was justified. Kill or be killed, time running out, back up against the wall. Those are all acceptable answers because I'm going to tell you something that nobody ever talks about. And this was sort of the reason behind the book. And then I've got a couple more questions. He allegedly, yeah. It's a life and death game. Absolutely. And there is some truth to that. Some absolute truth to that. Let me click on this. Nobody cried about Paul because they all became substantially richer. And that is a part of the answer. That is a part of the answer. The truth of the matter is, I cannot hand you a sheet of paper that says the commission approved it. But what we do have and what we do know is based on informant testimony, informant statements, that a lot of this was actually signed off on. And the book is going to get into all of that. But here's my point. Everywhere that you go on Google, if you type in John Gotti, what you invariably will see is people saying the same thing. Gotti killed the boss, had no business doing that. He ruined the mob. He brought down the whole entire Gambino crime family. These are all of the things that you continuously hear. But what you never, ever hear is the fact that Paul Castellano ordered the death of John Gotti before John Gotti did anything. And those are just facts. And you're going to find out in the book. We have a lot of different stuff that's going to cover that as well. You typically will hear things like, oh, Vinny Gigante acted complicit with Gas Pipe Casso to blow up John Gotti. That's absolute nonsense as well. And we've proved that repeatedly in the show. I talked about that on the podcast. But here's my point. The very people, and there's a lot of haters that do say this, but I want to be very succinct in what I'm telling you. What you always hear, he killed a boss. You can't do that. Okay. Albert Anastasia killed Vincent and Philip Mangano. He wasn't supposed to do that, but he did it. Carlo Gambino became boss because Albert Anastasia got killed. Lucky Luciano becomes boss because Salvatore Maranzano and Joe Massaria are killed. Antonio Caponegro kills Angelo Bruno. Do I need to keep going? Anthony Aralata had Adolfo Bruno killed. Do I need to keep going? So what I'm basically trying to say is that people often say this, then they write articles and they write books, and it's just not simply the case. It's absolutely not the case. Those who have power to wield it in any way they want often do. And that's just the truth. And so we end up holding John Gotti accountable for something that 10 other people have done. And that's what I'm talking about. That's totally the reason why I'm writing this book, because there is so much that transpired in a 5-year sort of tumultuous scenario where a lot of people didn't have a lot of choice. And that's sort of the point. And that's why I wanted to write this book, because there's so much entailed in this story that people just don't know, that it's almost absurd to me. And I don't know if people do this because they just don't know any better. They don't like John Gotti, or whether they're not intelligent enough to do the research to see it for themselves. And listen, I want to be straight about this. This book is not going to be fairy tales and a fluff piece. It's not. There's a lot of things that are in the book that I really don't want to discuss. But the reality is I'm trying to give you a story and tell you a story backed up by paperwork that paints a very, very, very different picture than the one that we have been fed by people like Jerry Capisci, Scott Bernstein, Jeff Nadeau, James Proctor, some of these people. And Stacy, let's go to Sicilian Syndicate really quick. Paul's also going on trial. I don't think he would have held up. Paul would have flipped. I think Gotti knew that too. Well, it's a little deeper than that. And I'm not going to go into it because I want everybody to buy the goddamn book, obviously. But the reality is that after John Gotti ascended, him and Vinny Gigante sat down and had a meeting. They had a conversation. And let me explain something to you. Anybody that knows anything about organized crime, okay, and I've said this since 2010. If Vinny Gigante wanted John Gotti off this earth, John Gotti would have been off this earth. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. And there are so many dynamics to this story that I think a lot of people don't know. And one of the things, and I'll let this slip here, one of the things that people don't know is that Paul Castellano wanted John Gotti murdered after Christmas. It's plain and simple. That's what was going to happen. So there's a lot of things we have to discuss. There's a lot of parallels between Frankie DeChico and Sammy DeBull, Jimmy Brown Fiala, Danny Marino. There's just a whole bunch of stuff that's in this story that I think is going to change your mind versus the naysayers that continue to sort of regurgitate a narrative that just is not exactly accurate. Okay, so here's something I want to do. You are going to rank these guys from 1 to 5 in the chat. Okay. 1 being the best, 5 being the worst. Okay. Who, in your opinion, and this is also going to parallel the book, who, in your opinion, was the best? And this is the greatest strategist in organized crime. So these are the guys that had a strategy, played the long game, some played the short game. But of these names, I'm going to read each name one by one, and you put 1 to 5, meaning 1 being the best, 5 being the worst. Okay. Number 1 is Carlo Gambino. Rank him 1 through 5. Was he the best or was he the least of this group? The second name is Meyer Lansky, or you guys can just type in the names in the order that you want. The greatest strategist, Carlo Gambino, Meyer Lansky, Vito Genovese, Russell Buffalino, or Santo Trafficante. Of those, threes? Of those 5, who's the best? Is it Carlo? Is it Meyer? Is it Vito? Is it Russell? Or is it Santo? Who had the best strategy? Everybody's putting in 1. So everybody's picking Carlo. Okay. And see, that's what I thought you guys would do. I really thought a lot of you would pick Carlo immediately. And you guys are going to be very surprised in this book when you find out that probably one of the greatest strategists in organized crime was Paul Castellano. I know you guys are going to be shaking your head all day long when I say that, but you're going to hear some things. If you guys have not listened, you can go over to mobtalkradio.supercast.com and listen to the Castellano or the Gambino history shows. One of the more unique things that I found about Paul Castellano, which typically, once again, we go back to the sort of Google nonsense of people, saying things that are, I'm trying to think of the right word. People that just sort of take an issue and make it completely the opposite of what it needs to be. Paul Castellano was no dummy. Paul Castellano was really at his core a gangster. And at a young age, he was more prolific than half the men around him. So this idea that Paul Castellano was just some sort of fat slob who didn't understand the streets is absolutely inaccurate. 1,000% inaccurate. Tony Accardo is another one that was just absolutely underrated. But one of the more unique things about Paul is because you typically hear this from Sammy Guevara. Oh, he didn't understand the streets. He just sat up there in his mansion. He forgot he was a gangster. Paul Castellano never forgot he was a gangster. And that has been a narrative that has been woven by people that were looking for excuses for what they did. And that's just the truth. Because when we went through, I think it was 5,000 pages of Paul Castellano's paperwork. There I am. Hello. I was stunned, just stunned to watch how Paul went from relative obscurity to just, he was a millionaire before he was 24 years old. That takes some sort of moxie. And the old saying among the old timers that I talk to will tell you this: if you think John Gotti killed people, you should have seen what Paul did to people. And that's the truth. But the one thing that Paul did, or the biggest mistake that Paul made, a lot of people say, oh, well, he made a mistake. He should have done. His biggest mistake was allowing Roy DeMeo to take over control of the Westies, to supervise them and not keep a clamp on them. and the DeMeo crew. Those were really the two things that brought down Paul Castellano. And, it's just interesting. I think, does Paul get a bad rap? Yeah, he probably does. But I think that in terms of, I think the fairest way of saying it is, I don't think Paul forgot he was a gangster. I think Paul thought he had more loyalty than he actually did. And maybe he got distracted with the criminal cases. But I think, like I said, going back to the book, I think you're going to find out that Paul was not quite the louse that Gravano wanted, that Gravano has tried to make him out to be. Not defending Paul Castellano and some of the things he did. God knows he was greedy. But that's not why he was murdered either. That's not why Paul Castellano was taken out. There was a lot of moving parts, But I think that the truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, that if you listen too much to informants and what they have to say, especially about Paul Castellano, you're really going to get a warped narrative that isn't accurate. You know what I mean? And I don't know why nobody's really ever talked about it before. I mean, there's just so much you can talk about when it comes to this genre, but people tend to, cherry pick and talk about things that really just, to me, are just bullshit. Really just bullshit. Chris, I don't know if you tried to come back on or what happened. I'm going to drop the link for you again, buddy. Anyway. So there's really not a lot going on in the mob world. There's a lot going on in the narco trafficking world this week, especially today. They're setting gas stations on fire and killing people, and it's absolutely insane over there. And I'm wondering, really, if you look at what's going on in Mexico today, one of the leaders was, killed. That's going to have reverberations for Mexico, and I think it's going to have reverberations as far as distribution, to be honest with you, because it's going to interrupt the flow of things. Everything's going to go dry. So that's going to be something worth keeping an eye on. Tony Accardo never spent a day in prison. Absolutely correct. And I think that Tony Accardo is one of those guys that never got his due. Frank Kelly was extremely smart. Frank Kelly is one of the smartest. If I don't want to sit here and rank people, but if I had to, he'd be on my list. I mean, he controlled all the produce in the city. This is a no-nonsense guy. He was a ghost. And a lot of people didn't know. I mean, I watched and laughed for a decade as guys all said, this one's the boss, that's one's the boss. And everybody knew, that Frank was running things. And I think that with Frank Kelly and what happened to him, I think it set the Gambinos back a decade, if not more. Just because of the power that he consolidated, the power that he weaved internationally was a big deal. So I don't know. But if you guys have any questions you want to ask, once again, Angel Gotti is coming on at 9:15 tonight. She's going to have on the masterful yet vibrant Lee Cole. And they're going to be talking about movies. And they're also going to be talking about marrying USP. I have no idea what the fuck that noise is. Oh, it's my phone. I never get good at these things. But if you guys have questions you want to ask, we can definitely play the Q&A game if that's what you guys would like to do. Like I said, it's open forum tonight. Not trying to get too crazy with it. Is his killer still in the psych ward? Yes. But here's the deal. Anthony Comello was sentenced already. But what I find interesting about that is the government sealed his sentencing guidelines and sealed his sentencing, which means we are never going to find out how long he has to be in a nut ward, which I think is ridiculous. But I also think they're probably protecting him because I think based on what he did, I mean, his life expectancy is probably about a quarter of what it would have been. But he'll never be in a general population prison. He's always going to be in a nut place until they release him. Tony didn't want to give any of the credit he had Sam Giancana for that. I agree with you 100%. Sam Giancana was a disaster for Chicago. He was a very nice, quiet guy. His kids went to my school with his grandkids. Yeah, he was a quiet guy. He was actually, believe it or not, Joy, when Elio and I went and saw the Gotti film, he was there. He was in the crowd. He was sitting a couple of rows back from us. Nice guy. Nice guy. Absolutely very low key. Is it safe to say John Gambino had the most powerful crew in the United States in the 80s and 90s? Huge crew, serious guys, the Inzerillos, Spatola, and DiMaggio. No, absolutely. Listen, you cannot argue John Gambino. We've had this discussion a lot on the podcast and here on YouTube. John Gambino, juggernaut in every imaginable way. I don't know why he didn't go any higher than he did. I think a lot of that had to do with more politics than it did anything. Like there was this rumor going around for a long time that John Gotti didn't like Tommy Gambino, and that was like the furthest thing from the truth. Furthest thing from the truth. One of the things that John Gotti was actually very good at was putting the right men in the right places. Because what you can't argue is that in the last, a year before Paul Castellano was killed, the Gambinos were making, give or take, and this is not an exact number, 450, 500 million, but after Gotti takes over, they're making 800 million. So you can't say that Gotti in that regard didn't know what he was doing, because he did. He did. And I think that if Frank Cowley had survived that just disgusting thing, New York City would be a lot different, He always hung out on 18th Avenue in Brooklyn. Oh, absolutely. I think John Gambino was secretly running the family before Cowley. You know what? I don't know. And if I did, I wouldn't say so either way. But I think certain guys carry a lot of power and carried a lot of swagger and a lot of sway. Like I always say on the show, be a Joe Watts. Who the fuck wants to be a Sammy Gravano? Be a Joe Watts. Be a guy that can deal with 4 other families and make your money. Because that's really what it's all about at the end of the day, is making money. The days of the trifecta of, politics, killing people and making money are over with. Nowadays, if you can't earn a dime with anybody, there's no point in them, wanting you around. And that's just the reality of it. Just the reality of it. But if you guys want to ask any mob questions, feel free, go ahead. I don't know what happened to Chris. Let me text him and find out what happened. Do I really want to know what this is? Okay, I don't know what that is. Let me find out what happened to Chris. All right. Let's see here. Sammy's more likely to touch you in the prison shower. Yeah, that's what we hear. That's kind of what I hear. I think, Gravano's even run out of stories at this point. You know what I mean? You can only talk for so long. And then the fact that I think he just invents shit as he goes along is just kind of, ridiculous. Just ridiculous. And it's funny because I got an email the other day and somebody asked me why I hated Scott Bernstein. I don't hate Scott Bernstein. I just call it like I see it. My opinion is if you're a mob author and you're a mob content creator, as it were, if you repeatedly write articles and books about a guy who was never involved in organized crime and you keep saying he's involved and he never was, and then you have to admit you've been lying for 5 years, so you kind of lose all credibility when that happens. You know what I mean? Not that it matters. He's going to do what he's going to do anyway. But I just think that there's a lot less emphasis on, I don't want to say being right, but I think there's a lot less emphasis on sort of checking off your contacts, making sure you're being told something that's possibly true. Whereas I think Scott just kind of jumps too much without really looking at what he's doing. It's just my opinion. I could be wrong. People say that about me too. Could you imagine if Gravano and Casa were acting like bosses at the same time? Maniacs. Well, it was bad enough. I mean, Christ, look, Casa and a Musso together. Oh God, that was a disaster. But that was really Gravano's thing. Gravano, listen, for all of the pomp and circumstance, Gravano knew nothing about construction. He didn't. He stole companies from people he knew. He stole companies from victims. He stole companies from his brother-in-law. He couldn't nail a fucking hammer in the wall if his life goddamn depended on it. That's just the truth. Whatever you had, if Gravano could get it, he would take it. And those are fact. And it's just backed up by, a lot of those Ravenite or the apartment, who was it? The Sorettis, what the fuck was their name? The Sorettis that lived above the Ravenite or whatever. I'm probably getting their name wrong. But just if you listen to those wiretaps themselves, that's not Gotti blaming everybody. That's Gotti pissed, realizing that this guy had lied to him for over a year, and now he's fucked. He's painted himself in a corner. And so he's telling, Frankie Loke that, what am I supposed to do with this guy? I told him to slow it down. I told him to this. He hasn't listened. Did DB ever come in here? Did he ever talk subversive? Did this guy ever steal any companies? No, he never did. Well, I took his word that these guys were doing that. And that's kind of the problem, is that it just recertifies that Gravano lied his way to the top. And anybody that says that he wasn't involved in the Frankie DeChico thing is out of their minds. He had all the ulterior motive to be involved in that. And like I said, the book is going to go into a lot of stuff with, a lot of people don't know. And I think it'll be interesting. It's just like the other thing, like, one of the big problems with Gas Pipe, he becomes an informant, he gets sentenced. And once he gets behind the wall, starts telling people, hey, listen, Gravano was selling drugs with me. This one was selling drugs with me. Even guys, if you look at John Gotti's appellate paperwork, even in the appellate paperwork, there's the Patsy Conti letter, Vincent the Fish Cafaro. There were guys that were coming out telling the FBI that Gravano was dealing drugs, but they did not want to hear it. Because if they have to admit that in court, now Gravano's perjured himself on the witness stand by saying he never, ever Sorelli's. That's what it was. Thank you. But by saying he's never sold drugs in his life, he's perjuring himself. And that's just the reality of it is, I guess what I'm confused by, and I guess you guys are a lot smarter than me and a lot more patient than me. I would love for somebody to explain to me, at least in an educated way, why is it that I'm the only mob content creator that can find this paperwork? Is it a lack of people just refusing to go look for it? They don't have time to search through paperwork. They don't want the truth, or is it that they just want to spin a narrative a certain way? Because the reality is you can't blame, one person when they do the same thing the second person does. You can't say Luciano was nothing wrong with Lucky Luciano, godfather of organized crime. He whacked, Masseria and Maranzano, but John Gotti's a horrible, awful, worst version of a gangster you could ever get because he killed Paul Castellano. I mean, let's just be honest about it. Can you cover mobsters from other different countries for the algorithm? Watching from the UK. So the reason why I don't talk a lot about the UK is, honestly, I don't know a lot about the UK. The Corey twins, but everybody talks about them. And there's some other guys, but I just don't get into it because it's not as... I don't think it's as steeped in history for me, say, like organized crime in this country is. But that doesn't mean I can't cover them. I mean, I'll definitely look into some stuff. But I'm definitely not going to talk about Dominic Noonan. My God, that guy is a fucking animal. Absolute, just atrocious. And I'm sure Rapper's Digest knows who Dominic Noonan is. What does he go by? Fauntleroy or Fuckboy or whatever the fuck it is, fake name he's got now. I think he's still in prison too. It's another one. He was just a disgusting lowlife. Has a successor been picked for Denaro? I'm sure there is. But you know what I find funny about that, Sicilian, about the way they find Denaro? He's going in getting his cancer treatments. Is legitimately, how long the Italian government and the American government was looking for Toto Rina. Toto Rina never left Corleone. Never left. Lived in his house, in the community, never left. And was legit there for like 15 years. Didn't go anywhere, went out shopping, did his thing. Nobody ever said a word. That's true power. That is true power. When everybody's too scared shitless to utter a word. And then you have what happened with Denaro. Going to get cancer treatment and a nurse tips off the FBI or not the FBI, but the Italian authorities for money. It's for money. But I'm sure there's been a successor. absolutely. Without a doubt, hands down. But I think it's going to be interesting to see kind of how this Mexico thing works out in the next few days, because everything's going to be a standstill. And the group that I think that's cool. Excuse me. I think the group that is going to sort of put a monkey wrench into their issue is going to be Andromeda, because Andromeda controls the flow of illicit narcotics from overseas everywhere now. They're the biggest group. And what makes them even the more interesting, because people always ask me, what is the major difference between Andromeda and Cosa Nostra? Well, Cosa Nostra makes their money illegally, just like everybody else, but they launder the money through banks, legit banks. Andromeda owns the banks. That's the major difference. That and the hierarchy just is like, you would have a better chance of understanding the hierarchy of fucking the Mouseketeers than you would Andromeda. Because Andromeda's hierarchy and the way that works, it's like grabbing a fucking, I don't know, a mud puddle and just throwing it up against your wall, and you'd have better luck figuring it out. It's insane. And everybody's related too, which makes it even probably more precocious. But I do think, if we start looking ahead in the next couple of months, I want you guys to watch Philadelphia in Canada, and there's a reason for that. I don't want to get totally into it, but Canada is going to be a hot button topic over the next 6 months. And I think in Philadelphia, in the next 4 to 7 months, you're going to see some movement there. Not only are you going to see movement from the FBI in Philadelphia, but you're going to see some guys getting indicted. That is going to happen 100%. And if things are not kept under wraps, or at least kept to a certain degree of secrecy and on the DL, you're going to see some violent shit go, absolutely some violent shit's going to happen there. The problem is when you have a fucking press corps involved with your organized crime group, that's a problem. When all of your stuff starts getting out and you have people that are associated with you that call Scott Bernstein, call Jerry Capisci, call fucking Dave Schratweiser and George Anastasia, when you have guys that are doing that, that's a problem. And I will never understand for the life of me, as long as I live, why that's even allowed. Was Gotti and Gaspipe friends? Maybe in the early days, but I can't speak to any kind of relationship. But I do know, and what I can tell you is that when Gaspipe Cassos, he had a fishing trawler that was moving a ton of heroin that got pinched. And Gotti hears about it. And he's talking to Gravano saying, oh, did you hear, Gaspipe's boat got, blah, 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 got taken. A bunch of people got arrested. Oh, Gravano plays dumb. Like he had no idea what was going on. Meanwhile, that was Gravano's shipment with Casso. Because Gotti actually says, oh, well, I heard that it was this much and all of this got taken and that was that was Gas's stuff. And there's Gravano. Nope, no, nothing about it. But Gravano was involved in that. He was sort of the financier of that. And that's one thing he never talks about. And I never understood that. I never understood it. And this is kind of silly and macabre. But I never understood for the life of me why a guy like Sammy Gravano will be like, no, I would never sell drugs. I would never, ever do that. But you're admitting to killing 19 people and you killed a kid. Like, I don't know what's worse. A guy that sells a little cocaine, or a guy that sells a lot of cocaine, or a guy that kills a child. Like in all reality, like what's the worst you can be? What's the worst you can be? Hey, Tony, how you doing, buddy? Hope you're doing well, you prick. It's nice and sunny down there in Florida, and we're stuck with this fucking demonic snow. He's out there getting a suntan. I'm out here shaking my giblets off, you fuck. I love the story about a drinking a boss talking about face cream while one of his guys asked him to sanction a hit. Yeah, well, that's, one of the funnier things is I came across a wiretap the other day. It was a transcript, and it was Sicilian Cosa Nostra in Italy, and they're legit talking about being pushed out of the drug market by 'Ndrangheta. They don't know how to make money. What used to be their staple of income is no longer theirs. All of the things that we saw the American Mafia do here in the 19th and 20th century. things like bookmaking, loan sharking, those are always staples of every racket. They're always going to be there. But if you look at the 80s and you look at the Gambinos, they moved into phone card scams. They moved into pump and dump stocks. They moved into garbage hauling contracts, and they just moved into so much different stuff. But if you look at Cosa Nostra and Sicily, they've been pushed out of all of that. Christ, you have Andrangheta making land deals for bridges. I mean, that's where they're at as far as scale. It was 81 today. Yeah, I bet you're thinking, hold on, Tony, I'm going to show you something, you prick. This is what we got going on, unless I deleted it already. I might have deleted it. I have a tendency of doing that. Yeah, I deleted it. I showed a video in the snow, and it's ridiculous. I looked out the window a minute ago. It's right before the show. Fucking whiteout. Can't see shit, but I'm telling you what, that crackheads don't stop. They get out there with their little buggies, going down the block, getting crack all night. You know, I don't think I would choose a drug to be addicted to that I would literally have to go out in the snow to find. Like, fuck all that. You know what I mean? Besides, you got a cell phone. Just have a guy meet you at the door. What are you walking around in like waist deep snow for, you prick? You're going to die before you get to the corner. I'm hoping for 6 inches. Most women are. I'm sorry. That was filthy. I had to do it. Had to do it. What is shaking, Mario? How you doing, buddy? Chris, did Chris ever come back in the chat? I sent him a text. He never responded. Did Chris pass away somewhere? Huh. I'll drop the link for him again. I don't know what happened to him. If you guys could donate, I would really appreciate it this evening. Keeps cat food in the house, keeps the heat on, pays the bills. All the information is down there. We've got Venmo, we've got PayPal, and Cash App. I think Cash App is the first one, Venmo's the second, and PayPal is the third. I appreciate it. Any donation matters because we've got a lot of stuff coming up. The Gravano documentary is almost done. A lot of you didn't know I was working on that. I have an interview with somebody coming up. I'm not going to tell you who that is, but it's going to be an interview of the likes, which I don't think will surprise anybody. It's not an informant, not anything like that. But I have an interview coming up at some point, not sure when it's going to be, but it's going to be an interview in a way that I think people will just be, their minds will be blown by, because it's not just going to be about somebody and somebody's relatives who they're related to. It's really going to be an interview that's going to show you the impact it has on the family when men such as gangsters that we do talk about get arrested, go to jail, and all that kind of hoopla. So we are going to be doing that interview. We've got a couple other interviews possibly lined up. So I'm looking forward to it. I was talking about that earlier, Mario, the El Mencho crap. I was talking about that earlier. These motherfuckers are lighting the gas stations on fire. I saw a video earlier today. They pulled a guy out of his car at gunpoint, made him walk away from the car, and set his shit on fire. Good luck getting an insurance claim on that. You believe him calling the insurance company? Well, you see, I was driving in Jalisco, and I don't know, 5 guys with AK-47s pulled me out of my car and set my shit on fire. So how quick can I get that full coverage? Not going to happen. The last thing I saw was that the United States government was involved, but I don't believe that. I happen to have some intel, which I'm going to look at right now. All right, so this is coming from, I'm not going to tell you who. I'm not going to tell you if they're involved in any of this. I'm just going to tell you exact word for word what I got. El Mencho's been giving the Chapitos everything that they needed to fight El Mayo's people in exchange for routes. Delta Force got them, and it wasn't the Mexican Marines. Puerto Vallarta is where a lot of them are at, and in Cancun, but Mexico has never been without Chapo, Mencho, Mayo at the head. Leaving it to some crazy ass plaza bosses, shit's gonna pop off. I've been grabbing everything I can. Okay, I'm not gonna read that. CJNG is attacking Guadalajara Airport, probably where the Delta Force military plane is taking off from. Its main bodyguard traveled with a grenade launcher. So that's inside information you're not going to hear everywhere else. That's insane shit. Now you know why I don't cover cartels. Gee, you know what I mean? A buddy of mine is there posting pics on Facebook and loving it. Oh God, that's funny. Troy, how you doing, buddy? Tough loss this morning, but go Team USA. USA probably shouldn't have won that game. You know what? But listen, Troy, I love you guys in Canada, but I'm going to tell you something. You assholes for 46 years dominated the fuck out of us. Let us just have 3 in 46 years. Well, I think there was one in 1960. There was one in 1980, Lake Placid, and then today. So you know what? You guys legit, for the most part, are 43-3 against us. Let us just have one. That's it. Just one. That's all we need, Troy. Just one. What do you think of Michael Genovese, former boss of the Pittsburgh family? He was a boss for like 35 years. Ironically, one of the 2 very last guys of the Pittsburgh family. No, he's again another one of those guys that just doesn't. I think the problem is, Sicilian, and I think you'll agree with me on this, is that guys outside of New York don't get play. You know, they don't get play unless you're Capone or you're Gotti. Those are the 2 infamous ones that history, they will outlive all of us, right? But guys like Accardo, guys like Johnny Torrio, these are guys that often don't get the accolades. Oh, that's good. Yes, I'm fully aware I don't give a fuck. Mondani can go fuck his mother. Shut up already, you whore. They're banning everybody from the streets. Everybody but the crackheads. Don't drive on the streets, but crackheads, grab your torches and go to town. But, you know, guys like Genovese don't get the credit they deserve. Guys like Jacob Shapiro don't, you know. Tony, I don't know if you know this. You know, I played pro hockey for almost a decade. A lot of people don't know that. It was mainly more roller hockey than ice, but I played both. I also played for Team USA 17 and under. Won a world championship in Chicago in the 90s. So my hockey background is insane. And, you know, it was funny because a lot of the haters, they were going after Jack Hughes and Quinn Hughes saying, oh, why'd you put these guys on the roster? And look, without those guys, forget it. But I'm going to tell you what, was it McKinnon or McCarr today that almost buried the puck to go ahead and Hellebuck stopped it like with his paddle? It was this close from going in. Unbelievable game. Unbelievable game. Odd question for you. Do you believe Virginia Hill unalived herself, or did the mob do it, in your opinion? I'm on the fence. I got to be honest, Stacey. Like, there's 2 sides of that fence. Virginia Hill was the live-in lover and girlfriend of Bugsy Siegel. She also was stealing money with Bugsy Siegel. But the reason why she was so important to organized crime is she spoke fluent Spanish, and she would be sent down to Mexico and other regions to discuss drug dealers at the behest of organized crime figures. That was her sole sort of job when it came to organized crime. Do I think she killed herself? No. Just like I don't think Frank Nitti shot himself in the back of the head 6 times. I mean, it's got to be the dumbest shit ever. But I wasn't there. I don't know. So history will decide. History will decide. Crackheads assemble! Absolutely. Jeff, is that a bad weather alert? That was an alert from Mom Donnie saying, please get off the streets. Only because, you know, the last time this happened, 12 people died. So get off the streets. Too much snow, blizzard, whiteout conditions, blah, 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 blah. I know my son who passed was Division I. He was a goalie. Oh, okay. Yeah, my brother was a goalie. And my brother was ranked, believe it or not, number 1 ranked amateur coming out of the area. In fact, Lula Morello, who I'm sure you're familiar with, Tony, she was actually my mom went to school with Lula Morello. He knew my whole family, and they actually wanted to not draft my brother, but they wanted to sign him to a junior contract. I think it was Quebec Major Junior League when he was like 16, 17. And my mother said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But that's as close as he ever got. He was a good goalie. He was a very good goalie, probably top 4 on the East Coast for his age. It was McKinnon. Okay. All right. Yeah, I know. I love playing. Yeah, oh, me too. I adored it. My body ain't feeling it these days. Why do you think Sam D. Cavalcante failed to get his family on the commission? He brought that family to a new level. To be honest with you, I think the real answer is, and anybody in here could probably have just as good of an answer as I could. I just think listen, New York looked at Jersey as farmer guys. I mean, think about this for a minute, right? And we all know this. Jersey is such a small area, right? North Jersey is Philly guys. South Jersey is some Philly guys. Middle Jersey, you have all representation of the 5 Cry families there. All 5 New York families are there. you're given but like a fucking cunt hair of turf. And I think that's by design to hold them down. Now, if DeCavalcante had said, you know what, fuck this, we're gonna push you guys out of Newark, that would have been something. But the Genovese crime family ruled Newark. They've always ruled Newark. It's never belonged to New Jersey. And that's what I find to be odd, is you would think that in the port of Newark, your people are going to control that port, but no, the Genovese crime family. And that was sort of a precursor to why people were getting very, very angry with Albert Anastasia back in the day, because it wasn't enough that he controlled the Brooklyn waterfront, but he was trying to push into Jersey and everywhere else. And everybody started thinking, well, you're not going to have a monopoly here, pal. And that's what caused a lot of stuff. Lou Lamoriello is my summer coach 3 years in a row. And Randy Velichek coached me last year at summer hockey. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, Lou's a great guy. Lou's a great guy. And really, really is a smart, just when it comes to hockey, just absolutely highly intelligent. And I could never say anything bad about him. Look, I got another one, Mom Donnie. Oh, okay. So here's what it says. An emergency for New York City. A travel ban is effective beginning at 9 p.m. due to dangerous. Come on, you fuck. Due to dangerous blizzard conditions, all non-essential vehicles are restricted from the New York City roads. Yeah, that's not going to stop anybody. Fuck out of here. A glorified crew. And look at guys like Richie the Boot Boriardo. I mean, he doesn't get any credit either. He's got one of the weirdest looking fucking homes I've ever seen in my life. But he's another one that had a lot of stature and a lot of power. Funzy Thierry, same. I mean, there's so many guys. What's with the porn stash? Oh, just haven't shaved. You know why. I figure I don't need to look all primp and preppy this week. I can look like a slob. Nah, I just didn't feel like shaving. I shaved my head. Does that count? Yeah, well, I'm going bald, so fuck it. Just shave it off. Fuck it. Although I have to admit, with the fucking goatee thing and going and the bald head, I'm kind of like that, fucking that dipshit off American History X, which isn't really cool, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? This is what I get for making fun of my father and my brother for losing their hair. It's only natural it happens to me. Yes, Providence College. It was great. Yeah, I have, you know, what's funny, Tony? I got to put these photos. I got like pictures of my brothers and their little kids at the Providence, at the P. Friars summer camps for kids. Lou ran them all the time. There's a whole bunch of people. Sorry, Mario, I meant to allow that comment. Okay. Grow a mullet. No, never a mullet. Nor a rat tail. We're not doing that. Please repost. Let's see. I shaved my head 28 years ago when I started going bald. Well, so that's the thing, right? I noticed I was getting a fade probably 9 years ago. And then I cut my hair and I'm like, why am I getting this like John Gotti thing going on like over here? Like, you know, the C where you get that, you know what I'm talking about. The Tony Sirico. All right. I couldn't figure it out. And then it started going like John Gotti's and I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck is going on with my hair? And because you can't see the back of the head, one day somebody said, hey, nice yarmulke. And I didn't know what the fuck. It was an ex-girlfriend of mine. She was fucking joking me. They were laughing because you got a great yarmulke. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm wearing a fucking goddamn baseball cap. And they're like, take it off. You got a yarmulke. And then they held their phone up and I went, what the fuck? And it was going. And I says, you know what? At this point, fuck it. Yeah, just fuck it. I'm just giving up. Gotti had the boss and the followers to pull it off 100%. Absolutely, unequivocally correct. He did, because if he didn't, he never would have been able to do it, especially with a guy like Frankie DeCicco. Frankie DeCicco was his lineage, his acumen, his history, his abilities. Listen, if he wasn't down with something like that, hell would have befallen other people. Let's just put it that way. And you can't tell me, as intelligent and as highly thought of as a guy like Frankie DeCicco was, that if people thought that, hey, Frankie DeCicco was in on this, we knew it, they didn't go after him, did they? So they must have accepted it. And that's the whole point, is that these are just things you have to accept. You know, when we get back to like the 30s and 40s, it's a little different. There was too much at play in those days. Nowadays, though, a little bit different. If you guys can do me a favor, if you are enjoying the content, do me a favor. I was about to say it costs nothing, but it does cost something. Do me a favor. Donate to the show. Cash App, Mob Talk Radio, Venmo at Jeffrey Lohman. That is my real name, by the way. PayPal at Mob Talk Radio. Every little inch helps. And the reason why is I dump it right back into our documentaries. We are doing a documentary on King Merlin from Springfield. That's going to be coming out. I have so many documentaries that are almost done. It's not even funny. And the problem is I have no idea in which order to put these. I've sort of tried to stay away from the live stuff only because I typically don't enjoy it. I got to be honest with you. It's not necessarily the trolls, but I'm so used to doing a podcast where my mic is here, my mixer's here. I've got my show notes and I'm recording for like Fridays for the podcast people. Like I'm so used to just pacing myself a certain way that when I get on here live, I kind of almost like run out of shit to talk about. You know, that's why if you guys, want to do the Q&A kind of stuff, you absolutely can ask any question. We are not going to stay on all night tonight. Angel is going to be on. Tony, what time's Angel coming on? 9:15, right? I think Angel's on at 9:15 with Tony Silo, Lee Cole. They're going to be talking about movies and they're going to talk about marrying USP. And boy, have I got some interesting stuff on marrying USP in the book. Things that I don't think you guys are aware of. And yeah, there's some seedier stuff, but I think common sense should, 9:15. Thanks, Tony. I think common sense will outweigh a lot of the things. And for the haters to be like, oh, here we go. He's going to, do a Gotti fluff piece. It's not. It's absolutely not. It's just the truth. Good, bad, and indifferent. Some bad stuff happened when we talk about this part in history. But I think that if you can draw the correct comparison, then I think people will be a lot less apt to say stupid shit. And it's not about being right. It's just about understanding the foundation. I mean, we're not talking about two bank tellers that don't like each other here. We're talking about men whose whole entire existence was the streets, making money the best way they could and retaining power the best way they could. And that's another thing. I think the book opens with some wiretap transcripts of John when he was talking with his daughter Victoria and his brother Peter, and Jerry Capisci quoted it as being John Gotti complaining and blaming everybody else for his problems, but that's not really what he's doing. If you actually just listen to the things that he was saying, he's not blaming everybody else. He's taking accountability for his actions. It may not be in the way that the government wanted it, but he's admitting this is what I've put myself in. This is the reality. I'm probably never going to eat another fucking dinner with any other human being in my fucking life. This is what is my life now. And I'm not going to step back and take a back step now. Why would I do that? And there's something to be said for that. Some people may label that as a stupid thing to do or a stupid thing to say, but that's just, listen, how many other men, when we talk about the history of organized crime, can you actually say lived and breathed it till the day they died? There's not many. There's not many. And listen, when John was very, very sick, he could have made things easier for himself. He could have disavowed and said, I don't believe in any of the shit I used to believe in, and made his positioning a lot better. He could have been moved to a less secure prison, but he refused. He refused. And I don't know, given what he went through, I don't think any of us could have done that. You know what I mean? I don't think any of us could have gone through that. And that's the thing. A lot of people don't understand that when John Gotti arrived in 1992, Angel, you're going to want to bring this up tonight, or Lee, if you're penny pinching and trying to steal, now I'm going to give you what the information. When John Gotti arrived at Marion, I believe in 91, 92, I think I want to say 92. Do you guys realize for legit almost a decade, that prison was on lockdown 23 hours a day before John Gotti ever got there? And the reason why is the Aryan Brotherhood killed 2 COs in that prison. And we go into the story in the book. So really, USP Marion was not a supermax, but it was sort of the linchpin or the blueprint for what Florence ADX would become. Guys were only allowed to take showers twice a week if they were lucky at Marion. If they got rec time, it was in a cage outside by themselves. And so one of the more interesting things about Marion is people often spin this narrative that John Gotti was buying commissary, that he was mingling in general population. He was not. Marion was a 23/7 lockdown prison when John Gotti arrived. They took John Gotti's commissary. They would not let him get commissary. Additionally, in the summer, guys would be fucking dehydrated because there was no AC. In the winter, they had to wear almost every layer of clothing they had because there was no heat. Then we get into the lead and the cancerous crap in the water. And it's just, I think, very ironic to me that it's not until I think John Gotti passes away in 2002 that I believe it wasn't until 2004 that they reduced Marion from a supermax to basically a medium security facility. And guys are still drinking bottled water. I happen to know somebody that did some time that released 2 years ago, said they were still having to drink bottled water. You know what I mean? Joey Merlino said if John Gotti signed a document, he would have gotten out of Marion. Did Joey sign to get it out? I don't, I know what you're talking about, Tony. And I think you're right. The government probably offered John Gotti all kinds of shit to get out of there. You know what I mean? And I think it was just, they never let go. You know how badly he had to have infuriated them. It was bad enough that they went after him constantly. Then they went after the son constantly. He was a thorn in the side of the FBI for certain. But, John Gotti wasn't the type to sign a document. John Gotti also wasn't the type to do a goddamn podcast. John Gotti wasn't the type to talk about anybody like that. And that's just the truth of the matter. In fact, somebody recently shared a letter from John to somebody, and I don't want to say who it was, from prison. And I guess the terse of the letter was something to the extent of somebody hadn't talked to John in a while. He was locked up, and he thought maybe that because him and John hadn't talked in a while, that maybe their friendship was on the outs. And it's very interesting to look at John's response, because his response was the same in that letter that I would expect would be with anybody he knew. Unless you did something behind my back I'm unaware of, then you're in good standing with me. We're friends. I don't, basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, I don't play the game of he said, she said. So if you did something wrong and I don't know, you should tell me. And if you didn't, we're good. If I tell you you're John Gotti's friend, you are John Gotti's friend until the end. That's the way he was with everybody. That's the way he was with everybody. Yes, my people will watch the chat. Enjoy shoveling the snow, Jesse. Ain't that the truth? No, it absolutely is. Absolutely is. And that's, do you guys find it even remotely ironic that every single one of these guys has to bring up John Gotti's name? Every single one of them. Most of them never met the man in their life, but they all have to mention him. And it goes back to the photo that I showed earlier. Only two gangsters have ever been on the cover of Time magazine. And you know who those guys were. John Gotti and Al Capone. 56 years apart, 46 or 50. I'm probably fucking up the distance here. But 56 years separated them. And they're so different, but yet so similar in so many ways. And one of the things this book is going to do is kind of compare and contrast them. They're not the same men. They're very different. They're very different men. But they both had very short meteoric rises, and they both had very epic downfalls. And that's not a negative, aspersion onto anybody. That's just the reality of the streets. It happens to everybody. But I think some of those parallels are interesting. They're very interesting. John Gotti molded himself after Albert Anastasia. Al Capone wanted to be like Johnny Torrio. And it makes sense. It makes sense. But Albert Anastasia, wow. Unbelievable. Crazy stuff. Angel Gotti says, Ruggiano claims he was so close with my father, yet he says my mother is half Jewish. Well, your mother's not half Jewish. What do you got to take a fucking DNA ancestry test to just finally shut these fucking people up? Because let me say this to you. Let me say this to you. Meyer Lansky. Jacob Shapiro. Do I got to keep going? because I can. We could sit here all day and do the Jewish gangster thing. Whether you're Italian, Irish, Jewish, Chinese, Czechoslovakian, or fucking alien, doesn't matter. Can you make money? Can you make money and lead? So regardless of, first of all, Angel, you do realize, right, that if John Jr. was, you know what, let me not go there. Let me not go there because it's pointless for me to argue because the pinheads are going to say whatever they want. Your ethnicity does not matter. It does not matter. But I find it almost absurdly amusing that comes out like what in the last, decade, 15 years or whatever. Like, so what? Okay, so what? Half Jewish, who gives a fuck? You know, to me, it doesn't matter. To the streets don't give a shit either. They really don't. You know what I mean? It's so stupid. That's like trying to say that your family has some sort of asterisk next to it. And that's fucking nonsense to me. It's nonsense to me. Irish people are Catholic. He also said Tony Lee's wife was Irish. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. But, you know, that's the problem with people like Louis Kasman. You know, Louis Kasman is a hot ticket for about 5 minutes and then a fucking nobody for the rest of his life. And he really doesn't like me. He keeps sending me these little friendly emails of, you should have me on to debate me. What the fuck am I going to debate you on? For what? There's nothing I could possibly say to this human being that would make any sense and it would be fruitless. And I don't put rats on my show. That's just the fucking truth. I refuse still. 100% refuse still. But the reason why, you know, if truth be told, reason why Louis Kasman was treated, at least so he says, like a king, which he wasn't, because I'm told that really wasn't the case, is because he was able to facilitate money-making ventures. That's it. That's the extent of it. Past all that, Louis Kasman's a worthless fuck on a fucking horse's ass. You know what I mean? What's the big deal if Angel's grandparents had Russian Jewish blood? It matters how you were raised. No, I agree with you, but this is what people do when they don't like Angel. Because do you think that they would call Mrs. Gotti, John's wife, a Jew to her face? No. Do you think they would have said that to John? No. 100% not. What it is it's low-life cowards who say this shit. You know what I mean? We know she's not Jewish, Angel. Relax. Relax. Breathe. 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 I would play the banana song, but I don't have it queued up. Eat a banana. Eat a banana. You guys, my cat is... Hold on. Hold on. She's going to... Hold on. Don't scratch me. Hold on. You guys want to meet my cat? There she is. Can you say hi? Yeah, she's not happy about being... All right, go ahead. Now they'll say I'm abusing a cat. All right, guys. If you guys wouldn't mind donating, I would appreciate it. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. I would appreciate it very immensely. I also would appreciate it if you guys go and check out Angel's show tonight at 9:15. Tony, Lee Cole, Angel will be there, and they're going to be talking about USP Marion, and they're going to be talking about movies. You got to be careful talking about movies with Lee Angel because he's going to bring up some weird shit like Deep Throat. I'm telling you, he's going to do it. Let's see. No, it was the 96 Gotti movie that said, oh, yeah, you're talking about the HBO version. Yeah, I don't know why listen, I still, for the life of me, don't understand. Like, did those guys do research? Like, I don't think they did. I remember now. The real father's a Jew. Okay, now I remember. The line was from Vinny Pastore, who was playing Angelo Ruggiero. And now I remember the line. Yeah, stupid. Because the real father's a Jew. Stupid. It wouldn't have mattered. It doesn't matter. It's just a way for them to just poke. Just a way to poke. And you know what surprises me? And listen, Angel, don't get mad at me when I say this. What surprises me is you would think that all of these little people that want to create mischief and malcontent and want to say stupid, silly things that they think are going to hurt somebody, you would think they would invest in doing fucking research. Because the truth of the matter, not that there's anything in the research that's like ugly and would hurt you, but it's just the facts of certain things. But they don't do that. Instead, they hold on to these fucking coattails of these fucking Sigmund and the fucking sea monsters that make up all of this crazy shit that never happened. You know, do you know how many, Angel, have you ever, I'm just curious, you ought to do this one night on your show just for shits and giggles. I'm telling you, Tony will know what I'm talking about. You should go onto eBay and type in John Gotti memorabilia. You will see a pen that John Gotti touched once on the way out of an elevator on sale for $15,000. You will see all of this stuff allegedly owned by John Gotti that just is, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. And I see people buying this crap and I'm like, that's not John Gotti's this. That's not John Gotti's that. Fuck out of here. You guys really missed out on like a bevy of fucking John Gotti swag. I'm telling you. Oh my gosh. Hold on. Let me see. You guys aren't going to believe this shit. Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I could pull it up real quick on this other one. All right, Sicilian. Thank you, buddy. I will in a second. I'm trying to pull up this thing. I want to show you guys this sweatshirt just because I love it. Let me see if I can log in. Hopefully my stuff is still in here. Yes. All right. Hopefully it'll show up. Okay, let's go to this. Give me 1 second, guys. There we go. This is a beautiful thing here. Hold on. Yes, I want to see the page. Nope, wrong one. Hold on 2 seconds, guys. I promise it's coming. There it is. I got to admit. Oh, all right. Hold on, let me take a screenshot of this really quick. I love this fucking sweatshirt. I have 3 of them, but don't tell anybody I buy my own stuff. All right, so where's the way that I can turn it into? Okay. All right, you guys want to see like a really cool sweatshirt? Check this shit out. Check. They were selling his uniform, Angel. That's crazy. All right, so if anybody is interested, okay, I'm only going to leave this up for another couple of weeks because I've sold a lot of these. And per the usual, just so that people know, 10% of all income I get from anything Gotti related gets donated to the SPCA. If anybody thinks I'm full of shit, I can show up receipts and do that. That was what I told Angel I would always do. That's what I'm going to do. Check out this Nike shirt. This is a Nike sweatshirt with John Gotti. Comes in white and black. It's beautiful pullover. It's lightweight. It's great for early fall. Probably not best for the winter, but what do you guys think of that? You guys like that shirt? You guys like that shirt at all? Let me tell you what the price is. I'm not even sure what the hell. Okay, well, they're a little pricey, but I'm going to drop the link in there anyway. Just because it's a cool ass sweatshirt. It really is a cool ass sweatshirt. And I tell you what, if you guys are interested, right now it's listed for it's $70 because it's a Nike shirt. Okay. And it's not like I put the swoosh on there. This is actually Nike stuff. Okay. So before anybody says, oh, you just put the Nike. No, it's Nike. Okay. Right now it's going for 70. I'm going to drop it to 60. I'm going to I'm going to do it right now while we're on here. I'm going to drop the price. Hold on a second. Let me see. How do I edit this shit? You know what? Fuck it. Let's drop it to 55. Let's make this fun tonight. All right. Okay. Okay. Okay, it wants me to go. Oh, it's not going to. Okay, that's why, because the base is 55. Okay. Oh, it won't let me do it, but we tried. So it is 70. I only make like 15 off of it, so I don't make all that much money. But it's a great shirt. I have 2 of them. I walk down the street wearing these things, and I swear to you, people stop me and ask where I got it. So if you guys are interested, There's the link. We have a bunch of different stuff. Gorky, you coming back on? I'm going to get off of here in like a half an hour. You want to come back on? Because I got to pee anyway, and I don't want to do that with people sitting here in the chat. I drank too much goddamn water. Once again, guys, that's the official Gotti Nike shirt. You cannot get this anywhere. I'm the only one that has it. The only one. So if you like it and you want a cool little sweatshirt, looks good, looks great with two-tone black and white Adidas shoes, which I got. Yep, see, matches that right there. I don't know. It's the only thing I'm good at matching. Other than that, I dress like my fucking father. My father was fucking colorblind. What is this, a red or green shirt, son? Is this a green shirt? No, it's blue. Same fucking thing. Chris, I dropped the link if you want to try to come in the chat. Once again, guys, please donate if you can. Okay, Chris is there. And the reason why I'm asking anybody to bullshit. I muted it. It must be arguing. Chris, I just muted you. You're good. Just for a second. Just let me get this out. What the hell was I trying to say? Oh, donations. So listen, here's the deal. We're upgrading all of our editing software. First of all, I don't know if you guys know anything about editing software. It's insanely expensive. It's not cheap. And so I have to upgrade all of that. I think, honest to God, like, I'm not shitting you guys. If you just saw my desk, I've got like $12,000 in shit sitting on my desk. And I need to start upgrading some stuff because every year they come out with something new. But really, the editing software is really what I have to upgrade. And that is very expensive. So any little extra cash that I can make, I appreciate it. Anybody who has donated, believe it or not, thank you. It means more to me than you'll ever know. But if you guys could continue to donate, I would appreciate it. It means a lot. And believe me when I tell you, we're going to start doing the live stuff a lot more. I know I say that and then I kind of disappear, but there's stuff going on in my life people don't know about, things I can't divulge until at least after this week, about some stuff. But in the meantime, if you guys can donate, everything is down there. We do have coffee mugs. We have absolutely everything. All right. So I'm going to bring on Chris really quick. I'm going to unmute him and I got to run to the bathroom. Chris, you there?
Yeah, thank God you had me muted because my dad's flipping out like a crazy man screaming.
No, I heard, oh, fuck, and I said, oh, I know what he's doing.
Man. Oh, no, I nodded off, took a little nap before, came back on, and I guess I got on a little late, and so, but I'm here now.
All right, well, can you control the chat for like 2 minutes while I go to the bathroom?
Yep, do your thing.
I'm definitely not taking the camera in there to do that.
No, I know, I just meant do your thing.
All right, go ahead, do your thing. I'll be back in like 2 minutes. And tell people to donate.
Yeah, donate, man. Donate. Jeff's a good dude. He puts out good content. Every penny counts. So I don't know what Jeff talked about today or didn't talk about, but if you guys saw that El Mencho thing, my dad's just screaming like a maniac in the background. He won't be quiet. So, but if you guys saw the news today about El Mencho, that's what me and Jeff and others were talking about today, where he got taken out. And what's crazy is, like, I don't think the Mexican military had some kind of plan after he was taken out. They took him out, and cartel members all over just started setting cars on fire, stores on fire, going looting, robbing, setting on banks on fire, and they went nuts. So my thing is, if Trump was partly behind this, which I think he was, with probably some kind of Delta Force team, along with the Mexican military, why weren't they ready for the fallout? I mean, this titty, after this El Mencho got killed, they went nuts. These people went absolutely crazy, ripping people out of their cars, setting cars on fire. Where was the response then by the Mexican military? I mean, for hours and hours, the place went off. It basically just burned the city to the fucking ground, and they did nothing. But I found that interesting today. Any comments? But big deal with Pablo, like the cartel wants to body Americans. I don't know. It'll be interesting. Some people, like I got a buddy of mine that says that now Elemental's taken out, that his number 2 guy, some guy named R3, might be in cahoots and team up with what's remaining Val Chapel's son, Ivan Guzman, was the guy I was given the name to. So it'll be interesting that it happens in the aftermath of the power vacuum.
I happen, and Chris, you would know because I shared a little information with you today, is that I know somebody that's deeply involved in this shit, and it's ugly, very ugly. But this is no different than when they arrested what's his face's son, El Chapo's son. They went fucking berserk, and the government had to give up.
Yeah, this just seems like on a high, like they're going to last longer on a higher level, but who knows?
Hey Jeff, Warren, what was the first MTR show played? I believe that the first one ever played was on YouTube, and I believe the first thing I ever talked about was Lucky Luciano. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it was. I think Nicky Scarfo was number 2, believe it or not. And we did the calculations the other day, me and an attorney, that I have done over 1,500 shows on YouTube alone. But what happened was I took like a 2-year break. A lot of people don't realize that I took a 2-year break off of YouTube, but I still have some of those original shows. I believe over on the podcast format, we have 300 at least. Maybe it's less. I'm not sure, but I think in total, like if I had not taken down, like we probably erased 6. No, I don't want to say. I think we took down like 300 shows easy before all that. So here we are. I thought I was done doing lives, but I think the reason why I do it now is just kind of just to keep the mojo going a little bit. And what's going on here? You guys getting a shitload of snow too?
It just started. I know I left my friend's house a couple of hours ago, and it was just starting. We could get anywhere from 3 to 6 inches tonight, and then in tomorrow we could get up to 10 inches. I don't think there's any going to be this big blizzard or anything crazy like people think. But we're definitely going to be getting some snow.
Well, it started here at like 10:30 this morning, just light shit. And then it was like steady, but it wasn't sticking because the ground was so wet from all the other bullshit. And then all of a sudden, like about 1:30, it was like white out. You couldn't see shit.
Well, the right before drop as well, so the snow sticks. But
because I right before I came on tonight, I went outside and because I had to talk to Gerard Maroney on the phone. And I couldn't believe how much fucking snow there was. I mean, it was ridiculous. And I got to go out in this shit. You know what I mean? That's the worst part. I got to go out in it, but I'm not sure if, I'm not totally sure if shit's even open because I know we're getting all these alerts that everything's closing, but these guys never close. If they're selling dope or fucking pot or whatever the case may be, they're not going to.
Yeah, it's not going to stop. It's never going to, you take out 1 liter of power vacuum, somebody else takes over and the drugs keep continue. It's never going to stop. The long-term game of why they want to do this, taking Elemental out, is to try to cripple his drug organization.
So here's something I don't think I've ever told publicly. Do any of the families have operations in Easton, PA? My father is from there. So my grandmother was from Easton. My grandfather's wife was from Easton. And when she was, keep in mind, she died in her late 70s, like 30 years ago. Okay. So I don't want anybody to think I'm making this up. But she drove liquor trucks. And the reason why she did was because she was 16 years old and they thought nobody would bother to ask any young girl who's 16 driving a regular work truck from Providence to New York. I'm not going to tell you what was in those shipments, but there was more than just liquor. I'm going to tell you that much. Wow.
You put every light on in the fucking house. What you?
Don't worry, I muted it. Little squabble going on there. Oh my God, Stacy, I can't tell you how many times I almost crashed my car laughing at Jeff shows. I used to be funny. Not so much anymore. Did any families have that? Yeah. Once again, those of you who are donating, I truly, truly appreciate it. Okay, I unmuted you, Chris. Are we clear?
No, I said Nicky Scarfo on his best day, along with Gas Pipe and Roy DeMeo. I got nothing on my dad when he goes off. He's going berserk.
My favorite are the football videos when he goes nuts.
Oh God,
What did you
was like a funny thing?
Did you listen to Friday's podcast?
Yeah.
What did you think? Well, okay, let me give everybody a background. So we're only gonna stay for 20 more minutes, and then I'm gonna get off here.
Yeah, no problem.
But the show was a look at the South Philadelphia politics of organized crime in a way that I don't know if it's been done before. But Chris, you looked at it. I mean, what were you? Because the typical thing that people do is, okay, he was born, he was died. This one took over. This is what happened. I did this sort of in a way that really showcased the politics and the reasons for stuff. So your acumen is probably above average in comparison to most people that listen, Chris. So I'm curious, did you learn anything from it, or what did you take away from that?
I didn't listen to the whole thing yet. I was going to finish on the way to work tomorrow. But what I did hear and the overall take I get is just the intelligence Angelo Bruno had of keeping a tight ship for the most part, but knowing how to diverse and get involved in multiple businesses. And it seems as the times went on and generations went on, that slowly faded. Like, you had Angelo Bruno and the acumen just slowly faded from one boss to the next under him as far as money-making schemes. Like, he was a lot more sophisticated under Angelo Bruno. Now it's just a lot of, backdoor dealing type of fucking deals.
Right. Now, if we take that commonality, right, and we look at every organized crime family in existence, I think truly the ones that were the most, I don't want to say gifted, because that's kind of a skewed way of looking at things, but I think if we were to take the families that had the most success over a long term, typically what we do see is what you just said, is that those coming up from underneath have just as much acumen as the leader before. However, when we look at somebody like Philadelphia and you take Angelo Bruno, really everybody after Bruno, be it even really before Bruno was Sabella, he was kind of a iffy guy. But we look at Angelo Bruno, you get Phil Testa, he doesn't last. John Stampa doesn't last. But look in terms of Russell Buffalino, that's almost the opposite tiered effect, where the guy, or not Angelo Bruno, excuse me, Russell Buffalino. Look at guys like Russell Buffalino. The acumen after Buffalino was absolute shit. And there was no generational, because a lot of people ask me all the time, why do you think Buffalino, when he sat down with the commission, agreed to let the family go defunct once he retired and he was done? That's my answer, because I think they realized that, number one, that is such a small area. And we know that Russ had his hands in things overseas. He had hands in things in the Caribbean, but he really honed in on his area and his area in general. Right. He didn't go too far out in scope. But, and I'm not knocking Big Bill D'Elia at all. But what I'm saying is there's a huge gap in the acumen between those two men. And I think that's a lot of the reason why the mob said, you know what, let's just let Pittston go, because no matter what happens, whoever comes after that isn't going to be as agreeable. It isn't going to be as, I hate to use the word aristocratic, but that's really what Buffalino was.
Yeah. And he was good at it. I mean, he went legitimate with a lot of his business. And when there's a beef between two bosses, two families, he was the guy called in as the fair guy mediator, because he had connections and relationships with all the bosses in New York pretty much. So he was the go-to guy to handle a sit down between, if there's a beef between two families, two bosses, two whatever. I mean, that's how much respect he had, that like he was the go-to guy for that. And
here's a great question. This is a great question. All right. The question is, was Long John Martorano trying to take over the family, or did he take over too much rackets and that's why he was taken out? I think you and I both know the answer to this. And the answer to Long John being killed had nothing to do with any of the things you just suggested. That was a move designed to overtake whatever racket, so to speak, he had. And it was designed and subcontracted out to somebody else that wasn't in mafia involvement.
Yeah, I was told by one of the old heads in my prison that it was a bunch of black guys that took him out, and it was just a bunch of black guys taking him out trying to press Joey. I don't know, they meant Lagambi or whatever. I don't know if that's true or not, but is what it is.
The story that I got, the story that I know is that this was more of a matter of people wanted what somebody else had. Maybe somebody wasn't giving as much as they thought they should have been giving. And so as a favor to someone who may or may not have been in a leadership position, they did it to curry favor with him. That's what I was told. Now, how true that is, was I there? No. Do I have a tendency of believing it? 100%. I have no reason not to believe that.
Yeah. Old timers know best. Been around the area. You got to weed out the ones you can trust. With the old timers that've been around that their whole lives, they know best.
Did any of the smaller families like the DeCavalcantes in Philadelphia get together and think about starting their own commission? I have been talking about this for years. I have always said I thought Philadelphia and New Jersey should have merged. Then together they could have tried to at least exert a little more control over New Jersey. But I don't think that would have been met with smiles. That would have been met with fury and rage and more. But that's a lot of the reason why. And we talked about this last week on the podcast. mobtalkradioshow.supercast.com. You can head over there. I think it's $15 a month. We do 3-hour shows every Friday. You get 4 or 5 a month. And that's one of the things that we actually did discuss was, Philadelphia being in such small proximity really has had no choice but to sort of expand into other states, which they've not really been aligned with, traditionally speaking anyway, if that makes any kind of sense. I think from a standpoint of making money in turf, I think that's a situation they could have benefited from. But once again, now we're talking, the Newark port, other ports and stuff like that. I just don't know feasibly if it could have been done. I think if they'd have made a move, say in the 40s, the 40s and 50s when Genovese was boss, forget it. All hell would have broken loose. And I don't think Angelo Bruno would have ever pushed that hard because I think he was very satisfied with what he had. But to do it today, I don't know what those ramifications would be. I just don't. Let's see. I have to leave. Love the opportunity to come online next time, have a discussion. Your wealth of knowledge. God bless. Yeah. You're welcome here anytime. Anytime. All right. Let's see. We've got, okay. Do you know anything about the alleged business Dom Sicali has? From what I've seen, he appears to be a conservative artist. I don't know. Where's this going? I don't know anything about Dominic Sicali's businesses. Absolutely not. Maybe conservative artist. You meant scam artist. I don't know what you meant. I don't know.
It's a Bitcoin now. Now Dom created his own coin.
Well, listen. Here's the thing about cryptocurrency. Okay, and this may piss. I think it's bullshit. I think it's stupid. I don't think it's going to be here for 10 years from now. I think it was one of these Marvel little things that came along. A lot of people got filthy rich off of it. But here's my point, okay? And I'm not defending Dominic Sicali because they're going to take what I'm about to say to you and they're going to run with it saying, look at him defending a rat. It's not what I'm doing. Dominic Sicali is a gangster. He's been a gangster his whole life. I am not saying he did anything improper. I'm not saying there was anything illegal that went down. But you're buying crypto coin from a gangster. Are you shocked?
Yeah, use your head.
Use your head here.
Yeah, if I got to roll this, right. I have a madman here going absolutely crazy. I apologize, but
just send me a text. Let me know you're doing okay either way.
I will. Good night to the chat. I apologize. I couldn't stay longer.
It's all right. Anyway, so I don't want to speak out of I don't want to say anything disparaging about Dominic Sicali because I don't know anything about his crypto business. Me personally, I wouldn't invest money in it. But 2, you also have to understand something. This is a guy who was trying to launch something. He launched, people bought into it. And unfortunately, when you're in the crypto business, you are sort of at the will or the whim of those above you that control everything. And so I've seen a lot of people try to blame him for shit, but here's the deal. If I'm telling you I'm selling XYZ and you buy it from me, you're taking a chance. Just like anytime You go on the stock market. You get a good tip. Oh, I'm going to put money down on this tip. It's a good tip, and it goes tits up. Then what? Who are you going to blame? The guy that gave you the tip? No, it is what it is. There's an ebb and flow to it all. So as far as that goes, I don't know anything about it, but it's buyer beware with everything. It's not just Dominic Sikeli. It's everything in fucking life. I mean, half the goddamn pills that you can buy off these 800 numbers, they always say funny shit at the end. Rectal bleeding, eye socket hemorrhage, ear falling off, testicles exploding. They say all of this crazy shit. Like, why the fuck would I even want to take it? Because the fucking side effects are 50 times worse than the fucking thing that I got. And so that's the point. You know, so if people bought into it, that's on them. That's not his fault. It's not like listen, the guy himself lost a ton of money. It's not like he didn't lose anything. I think people are just picking to pick for whatever reason. You know what? So who knows? Thought your video on the Gotti men being killed was because Casso was shot at, but what happened? But that happened on September 86. Nope. Look again. Look again. Go back and look at the date, please. Thank you. Well, I'm glad we agree on something, but I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's like anything else. Like, I can tell you my book is the greatest book ever written. Doesn't mean it is, you know? So listen, anything that is, and I'm not saying this about Dominic Sikeli. I'm saying this about just in life in general. It's good advice. If it sounds too good to be true, chances are it probably fucking is. That's just reality with everything. You know, just like people would tell you, oh, put all your money into your 401k and all this kind of fucking shit. Well, guess what? You may never see it. You may die before you can fucking access it. You know what I mean? So it's just, it's like anything else. I think people are just looking for a reason to pick a fight with the guy, but I could be wrong. I don't know enough about it to speak about it. And I'm not smart enough to really get into the crypto shit, because I don't even understand half of it. I just know I want nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? I actually heard a Musso respected guy. I think Casso was the real problem. I think you're closer to the vest there, Sicilian, than most people. I got to be honest with you. You're pretty much on the mark with that. But I think with anything else, right? When we start talking about organized crime politics, there's never a simple answer. Just like I always say to you guys, there's never just a simple answer for a murder. Sometimes guys just don't fucking like each other, and sometimes there's a reason for it. And that's just the reality. But I wish that people would make more of a concerted effort to look at all sides of it. And Angel will tell you, she will tell you that I won't hold back. If there's something that I'm working on, and let's say it's a documentary on Gravano, and I come across 3 or 4 things that John might have done that I disagree with, I'll say it. I'm not going to hide that and then just fluff up the Gravano side to make him look worse. I'm just not going to do that. And that's the one thing that nobody can ever say that I've done, is lied about my information or my material. It's all there. I've told guys like James Proctor, I've told guys like Jeff Nadeau, as stupid as that fucking clown is, and other people, if you want a subject to talk about, because this is the thing that everybody says, Jeff Canarsie, James Proctor, well, they say that I'm over the hill and no longer important, and that's fine. But they always say, oh, they talk about the same stuff, but we don't. And the reality is if you were to go into John Gotti's appellate paperwork, you could do 15 shows on that appellate paperwork. And for some reason, they just don't do that. And I don't know if it's laziness or not wanting to look or research, or if because it doesn't back up their narrative of fuck John Gotti. And that's my point. There are things that are going to be in this book that John Gotti did for people that nobody knows. I don't even think Angel knows. I bet you Angel doesn't even know. And when she finds out the story and then where it came from, she'll be like, yep, that makes sense. You know what I mean? So, and it's listen, I'm not glorifying anything. Okay. I'm not saying John Gotti was the greatest man ever. I'm not saying that either. I'm just telling you that I'm trying to correct some of the wrongs that have been written. And nothing at the end of the day is going to bring John back. Nothing at the end of the day is going to make him something he wasn't. Because the one thing he stood for amongst all, and I believe he told Angel this, or maybe it was Vicky, when Vicky was writing a book, don't you make me out to be a saint, because that's not who I was. There's some truth in that. And that's my point, is that there is truth, there is gossip, and there is assumption. And can we find a place where we can make the most sense out of things? And I think you're going to find out in this book. I think a lot of people that have been misguided by a lot of the bullshit that's said about that man are going to find out they were wrong. And I love that part. 2 lawyers called me today about my book today already. What's it about? Tell me some stuff. So I sent them a couple of chapters, and they're like, holy shit, this is better than your last book. And you're right on the money. Why has nobody done this? I said, I don't fucking know. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's another thing. If I get something wrong all day long, I'll tell you. All day long, I will tell you I'm wrong and I'll correct it. There's nothing wrong with getting anything wrong. I used to tell me and Lee, me and Lee have such an interesting friendship because I used to give Lee shit in some ways just to fuck with him, just to poke him and prod him, just to get him going. And that would invariably lead to a phone call of me going, hello, fuck you, you cocksucker. You think you're going to fuck with me? I know everything about you. I'll fucking bury you. I'm going to do a show. Fuck you, click, cocksucker. And a couple days later, hey, I was mad, blah, blah, blah. Let's not fight. All right. Not a big deal. But it goes back to you're allowed to get stuff wrong. You're allowed to get stuff wrong. God knows James Proctor, he'll tell you when he first started, he was having problems. Lee cannot pronounce an Italian name if his life fucking depended on it. But you're allowed to make mistakes, and they would own it. They didn't like me pointing it out, and I get it. And I was kind of wrong for doing that. That was a prick move. But what some people do, and this is not in relation to really James or to Lee, but some people just make shit up. They change history. You can't do that. History is history. Now, if you said, in my opinion, I don't think it went down that way. Okay, no argument, no harm, no foul. But when you change a narrative and you try to lie and make shit up that is not true based on some kind of weird theory you have, it's bullshit to me. You can't change history. Lee pronouncing Sparrow. Yeah. Oh, he's that Sparrow guy, the guy with the bird. Yeah. Lee cracks me up. And I tell you what, once Lee started getting really going, I got to give it to Lee. Once he really started getting going, I used to sit back and enjoy his videos because Lee had really worked his ass off on a video. You could always tell. He's presenting his evidence. He's presenting articles. He's presenting this. And some asshole in the chat would derail him immediately. They would say something so fucking stupid to him. And he was already worried that maybe he wasn't as proficient as he could have been. Or maybe he's like, oh, fuck, Canarsi's going to be watching this. If I get something wrong, he's going to jump on me, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's that. But no, all it would take was a side comment from the chat. And Lee, that we're talking vintage Lee here. Not the Lee we know now, but like the beginning Lee. Lee would go from 0 to fuck your mother in 8 seconds. In 8 seconds flat. And it was hilarious to watch. It was just hilarious to watch. Because here he is, poor bastard, trying to do his thing. And like somebody's going to give him shit. It's like, fuck you and your mother. Not that he would actually do those things. I'm sort of making fun of it, but yeah. And then he found his niche with the wrestling shit. Unfortunately, that's not around now, but I think Lee would be good on any show. I think Casso shot after John was boss and Frankie was dead. All right. I love the show you did with Lee about the wrestlers connected to OC. I would do a show with Lee Cole every day. If Lee Cole and I could do a show where we just busted each other's balls and talked about silly shit all day, I would do it. I would. He's enjoyable. His phone calls are fucking hilarious. And Angel will tell you, Lee's phone calls exist like this. Your phone rings. You say hello, and he'll go, oh, Jeff Canarsi. Hey, Lee Cole. Hey, let me tell you why I'm calling. And for the next 8 minutes, you're not getting no fucking word in. And he's like, all right, I got to go. See ya. All right, well, I'm glad you vented. Should I send you the bill for the psychiatrist appointment, you prick? But yeah, now I'm proud of Lee. I think Lee did something that a lot of people said he couldn't do. And yeah, Lee and I have bumped heads a couple of times, but at the end of the day, it always amuses me when I get texts of, so you going to the rub and tug today? Thanks, Lee, prick. But yeah, Lee and James say Chikali instead of Sakali. Yeah, I know. That's what they are. If Angel really wants to get donations and Angel really wants to have a good time, Angel, I know you're probably not listening because you're getting ready for your own show. Hopefully, Tony, one of you guys is probably still listening. This is what you need to do. I shit you not. Or maybe I can surreptitiously, because I don't think Lee's watching the channel to my channel today. I can make up a list of Italian words and just come on the show and say, okay, Lee, and we put it on the screen and it says lasagna. See if he can even do it. What the fuck is la pesto? Lasagna? What's lasagna? I don't want none of that bologna. Oh yeah. We would laugh for an hour doing it because that's just Lee. That's just Lee. That's just Lee. You know, and I would really like to see him on Angels more. In fact, I'll go this far. When Lee left, because he was doing his own stuff, you know, I had always kind of hoped, you know, albeit silently, that Lee would come back and stay on her show because he cracks me up. He's no crotchety fucking off my lawn kind of guy, but he's great. Let's see. Angel has a poll on her community post. So everybody go over to Angel's poll and look at her community post. I'm going to drop the link to her show tonight really quick if I can learn how to do this. Why is this coming up? Okay, there it is. Give me 1 second, guys. And once again, anybody who did donate, I appreciate it. The donations are still valid. Please donate if you can. Every little bit helps Jeff Canarsie get off his ass and do some real fucking work. And I'm going to drop the link into Angel's show. It's on at 9:15. She's going to have Tony Silo on. She's going to have Lee Cole on. And they're going to be talking about marrying USP. And they're also going to be talking about movies. If anybody's a gambler in the chat, what's the over under on Lee bringing up a porn title? How quick before Lee brings up a porn title? Anybody have any idea? I'm going to say by the third or fourth movie, he's going to bring up some obscure Chinese porn nobody's ever heard about, like Dolls for Daddy or some crazy shit like that. Okay, so according to Angel, why can't I put this? Oh, you dumbass, because you're on the YouTube page. You dumb fuck. Hold on a second, guys. Angel's going to be on in 15 minutes. There's the link for her show that's down there. I thought I saw Angel post something that I wanted to. I believe tonight is not members only. Is that true? No members only tonight. Maybe the chat will be members only, which is probably a smart idea. Keeps all the numbnuts out of the chat. Lee could be a retired porn star. He could be Brown Eye the Sailor. I don't fucking know. Don't ask me. They always said to make a porn title, it would be your middle name and the street you grew up on. And I have like mine would have been Anthony St. Martin. That's a fucking porn name. I don't give a fuck. Anthony St. Martin. That is the biggest, best porn name ever. So it's take your middle name and the street you grew up on. So Jesse would be Ruth Ann Forest Glen Drive. I'm just joking, Jesse. I'm just kidding. All right, listen, guys, I need to wrap this up because Angel is going on. Listen, I appreciate you all coming in tonight. At one point, we had over 100. That was fantastic. Thank you guys for all those who donated. We're going to try to do this a couple of times a week. I'm not sure if I'm going to be back on before Wednesday. Maybe Wednesday night is probably a good night for me just because I won't know what's going on a certain aspect of my life until Wednesday. So once again, the donation is down there on the bottom. I appreciate anybody that's donated, anybody that will. And when we come back, I'm going to just go ahead and say Wednesday night, we're going to go ahead and do a live at 7:05, and I will come with a prepared show for next week. And we'll also do a Q&A and some other things like that. I am also working very hard on getting one particular person on this show, but I'm not sure if that's going to be live. That may actually just have to be pre-recorded, but it has to do with something somebody brought up in the chat. I may get Long John's son on the show and discuss some things with him. He did do time with John Gotti. He was John Gotti's celly for a while. And he has some interesting things to say. He had some very interesting stuff to say about Gotti and about how he handled himself in prison and some of the rules he had. So that might be interesting to see and hear. So I'm going to work on that the next few days. In the meantime, if you got animals, please bring them in the fucking house. This idea that they need to stay out and they like it for 20 minutes, don't. Come in, bring them in, and God forbid, if you see any strays, bring them in the house for the night. Even if you have to put them in a box with blankets in the garage, do that because they cannot help themselves. So please, they can't speak for themselves, so let's speak for them. Other than that, everything that we ever earned on the Gotti name, from merchandise, t-shirts, cups, 10% of that goes back to the ASPCA to ensure that cats and dogs have food and have a shelter and have a place to live and aren't euthanized. And that is mostly important. It really is important to me. Is Lee considered a stray? I think so. I think Lee is a stray. He is a stray. Him and Polly. Anyway, guys, that's it. I'm going to get out of here. I got to run to the store before everything closes. I'll probably break my fucking neck trying this shit. Meanwhile, I'm going to have to hurdle all the crackheads getting out of my building buying crack because the crackhead Olympics are going on outside right now. In any event, we'll see everybody Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, 7:05. Donate if you can. If not, donate next week, next Wednesday, and we'll have a show prepared. And we'll see everybody soon.